Many of us know desserts to be the last guilty pleasure after a meal. But did you know that before the 17th century in Europe, what we know as desserts were used to cleanse the palate between courses? In many parts of the world, sugar was a rare and expensive ingredient. It wasn't until colonists generated and expanded the production of sugar fields through slave labor that the price of sugar was lowered. By the mid-17th century, cookbooks dedicated to desserts were published. With many different textures, colors, and flavors, here are some of the best desserts that exist around the world. This sweet treat got its name from the politician Eduardo Gomes, who ran for president of Brazil in the 1940s. Brigadeiros, which were inspired by Gomes's military rank, brigadier, quickly became a popular treat sold by women who supported him at rallies. He lost the election, but the bite-sized treat lives on. It is made with condensed milk, butter, and cocoa powder and covered with chocolate sprinkles. In Nigeria, the act of repeating a word twice is deeply embedded in the culture. It is used for clarity and emphasis. Puff puff is deep-fried dough, sprinkled with powdered sugar in some cases, and it can be served as both an appetizer and a dessert, savory or sweet. When I first think of mochi, I think of the mochi ice cream in boxes sold at Trader Joe's. But that's just the American take on the famous dessert. Mochi is actually a rice cake made from mochi gome. This rice becomes glutinous when boiled and doughy when steamed. Water and air are huge factors in the transformation of mochi gome to the mochi dessert that we know. Water prevents the mochi from being a sticky mess, and air contributes to the gooey stretch. The word tembleque is associated with the Spanish word temblar, which means to jiggle or tremble. This definitely represents the consistency of this dessert. A coconut pudding or custard if you wish, tembleque is a holiday dessert that has numerous variations throughout Latin America. But no matter where you are, it is best eaten cold. Legend has it that chimney cakes were invented by women in Transylvania during the Mongol invasion in 1241. In order to convince the Mongols that they would outlive them during a stalemate, the women of Transylvania came up with a plan that mixed flour with water wrapped around a wooden stick. This gave the illusion of large portions of bread, but they were in fact hollow on the inside. Starving and disappointed, the Mongols left, and chimney cakes went on to be popular in both Romania and Hungary. This next dessert takes us here. It's a little cupcake bake shop in New York, home to one of my favorite American desserts. And no, it is not apple pie. Many people wonder, is red velvet cake simply just chocolate cake with red food dye? And the answer is not exactly. Though the dessert has cocoa powder as one of the ingredients, it also calls for vinegar and buttermilk. The acidic flavors mixed with the cream cheese frosting makes for a dessert that is definitely not chocolate cake. The red velvet cake stems back to a marketing ploy by an American food coloring company. During the Great Depression, in order to boost sales, the Adams Extract Company added red food coloring to velvet cake in order to give it the bright, distinct color that we know today. So as demand for the dessert increased, so did their revenue. Banoffee pie is a sweet combination of bananas, toffee, and whipped cream on a thick graham cracker crust. The word banoffee itself is actually a portmanteau from words banana and toffee. It was invented at a restaurant in Sussex, England, and became world famous. Yagwa, meaning medicinal confection, got its name because honey was known in Korea as healthy medicine. Yagwa is a deep-fried cookie soaked in honey for 6 to 8 hours. The history of this dessert is tied to special occasions like royal banquets or chuseok. Though originally enjoyed mostly by the upper class because of the honey, it is commonly eaten today and still served for chuseok. Soaked in a series of 3 milks, evaporated, condensed, and heavy cream or whole milk, this dessert is incredibly simple yet deliciously complex. Although people are not entirely sure where the dessert originated, the main consensus is Mexico. It was Nestle that took the tres leches cake mainstream by featuring the recipe on cans of evaporated, condensed, and cream milk. Despite the marketing scheme, tres leches developed its own cultural significance in families all across Latin America. Stroopwafel is a sweet caramel-like filling sandwiched between 2 thin waffle cookies and was invented in the Dutch city of Gouda. Gerard Campesin, who is credited as the inventor, took leftover breadcrumbs and mixed them with a thick syrup. Warm up the caramel by letting the stroop waffles sit on a cup of coffee or tea before consuming, and you won't be sorry. A Filipino word meaning mix, halo-halo is a popular dessert in the Philippines made up of shaved ice, condensed milk, and fun sweet toppings like fruit, jellies, beans, ube ice cream, or sweet custard. This sweet treat is derived from the Japanese dessert kakigori. With the mix of Japanese occupation before World War II and the ice plant built by Americans in the Philippines in 1902, it was only a matter of time before Filipinos redesigned the ice treat to make what is known today as halo-halo. The origins of this dessert are a bit murky, with the Catalans saying their crema catalana preceded France's creme brulee, as well as Britain saying its Trinity cream was the first. However, thanks to chef François Massialo, France has the oldest recipe in writing dating back to 1691. Creme brulee is a custard topped with sugar that gets torched to create a caramelized hardened top layer. Unlike creme brulee, where the curdling or clumping of eggs in the custard is a sign of a mishap, baked custard welcomes the slight cooking of the egg. Instead of including only the egg yolk, like most custards, baked custard includes the entire egg and can be served warm or cool based on preference. Did you know that the correct way to eat a Belgian waffle is with your hands? The Belgian waffle, originally called Brussels waffle, is one of two types of waffles that originated in Belgium. Americans know the Belgian waffle as a delicious breakfast food, but not many of us are actually eating the waffle as it was intended. Belgian waffles are not to be eaten with a knife and fork, but rather with your hands. And no syrup, maybe fruit or whipped cream at most. Maurice Vermersch was the one who changed the name from Brussels waffle to Belgian because Americans did not know where Brussels was. Partly influenced by British colonial occupation, this dessert actually has health benefits. Currants are high in fiber, manganese, which helps strengthen bones, potassium, and copper, which helps with metabolism. Trinidadians eat the rolls casually as an afternoon snack or sometimes breakfast. This dessert actually is not pudding at all. Malva pudding, like many other desserts, has an unknown origin story. Some say Dutch, while others say South African. Similar to toffee pudding, its warm, spongy texture coated in a warm cream sauce is a recipe for deliciousness. And how can I forget the key ingredient, the apricot jam? The cake's name is derived from the liquor of the Black Forest mountain region known as Schwarzwälder Kirschwasser. The liquor is distilled from tart cherries. Black Forest cake was invented in 1915 by confectioner Josef Keller. Some people suggest that the look of the cake is a visual pun on the traditional ballenhoed worn by the women in the Black Forest. As popular as this dessert is in India, according to food historian and former chef Michael Krundell, it's derived from a fritter belonging to Central Asian Turkic invaders. Folklore in India says that gulab jamun was accidentally created by a Persian priest and presented to the people as a royal dessert. Although it shares similarities with the Arabic luqaymat, a staple during Ramadan, gulab jamun is unique because it's covered in a rosewater-scented syrup. As someone who took out loans to pay for college, the story of this next dessert really hit home. If you're searching for an easy, no-bake dessert option, look no further. The Nanaimo bar consists of 3 layers. The base is made up of wafer, nuts, and coconut crumbs, the middle is custard, and the top layer is chocolate ganache. The bar is named after the city of Nanaimo in southwest Canada. The earliest recording of the name Nanaimo bar was in 1953. Susan Mendelsohn popularized the dessert and commercialized it in the 1970s to help pay her tuition. She then opened up her own cafe, The Lazy Gourmet, selling the dessert. Khao Nhao Mao Muang is most likely to have originated in northern Thailand. This traditional Thai dessert is made with glutinous rice, coconut milk, a pinch of salt, sugar, and mangoes garnished with toasted sesame seeds or split mung beans. The best time to eat this dessert is in the peak mango season in Thailand, April through June. Translated from Italian as pick-me-up, this espresso and alcohol-infused dessert is sure to do a bit of that and more. Pastry chef Lolli Linguinotto was identified as the creator in the 70s. However, Italian food writers discovered evidence that the same ingredients were first combined and called tiramisù by chef Mario Caslo in the 50s. This, of course, sparked much controversy, but regardless, the origin remains in Italy. Baklava's origins are still debatable. Both Turkey and Greece claim ownership of the dessert. In Turkey, baklava is traditionally made with pistachios, walnuts, almonds, or hazelnuts. And in 2008, the Turkish Patent Office registered a certificate for Antep baklava, or baklava with pistachios. And in Greece, traditionally, baklava is made with 40 phyllo sheets to represent the 40 days of Lent. Similar to the famous baklava, galakto bureko is filled with semolina custard and covered with several layers of phyllo. It's soaked in a syrup, making it a sweet, light dessert that can take the shape of rolls or squares. Either way, it's undisputably delicious. Giving up my sugar addiction for Lent was my go-to as a child. But for Dominicans who observe Lent and or have eaten this as a child, know that this dessert will teleport you back to your childhood. Habichuelas con dulce is a signature dish in the Dominican Republic during Lent. Traditionally, the treat is garnished with galetas de leche, or tiny round cookies engraved with a cross. It consists of red kidney beans, sweet potatoes, milk, cinnamon, and sometimes raisins. In the 18th century, monks and nuns in Lisbon had leftover yolk after using egg whites to starch their clothing. Legend has it that the monks used this leftover yolk to create delicious desserts and potentially sold these desserts to help them in their times of financial hardship. This financial hardship eventually led the monks to selling the recipe to a bakery in the capital of Lisbon in the 1830s. In its peak season, this bakery today makes up to 50,000 tarts a day. Since the time of the Vikings, skyr has remained relatively unchanged. Its recipe has been passed down between women from generation to generation. What separates skyr from other yogurt is its consistency, which is thick in comparison to the yogurt you may be used to eating with fruit and granola. Skyr comes in many different flavors and has health benefits that may make you want to ditch your yogurt. Sopa borracha, which translates to drunk soup, will not get you drunk, nor is it a soup. It is a delicious sponge cake drenched in a liquid mixture of boiled raisins and prunes with cinnamon, sugar, rum, sherry, and lemon zest. This is a festive dessert and is served during special occasions. I don't think any dessert has as much controversy as the Australian Lamington. Or is it the New Zealand Wellington? What started out as an April Fool's joke by The Guardian has sparked much controversy over whether this famous dessert belongs to Australia or New Zealand. To clear speculation, the sponge cake covered in chocolate and coated in coconut shavings is Australian. But the controversy over whether jam should be included may not get settled anytime soon. Syrniki or fried cork pancakes date back to Russian texts from the 10th century. Cork is a dairy product that is created by warming soured milk until it curdles. It is dried and crushed, rolled in flour, and then fried to create a crispy exterior and soft interior. Top it with sour cream and fruit, and you may just have yourself a syrniki. Picarones are a mix of sweet potatoes and squash, flour, and salt, shaped and fried with syrup on top. Enslaved African cooks who were brought to Peru by the Spaniards created this delicious treat inspired by the Spanish buñuelos. Though the spelling, pronunciation, and exact recipe of this dessert changes throughout the region, kanafe is traditionally a favorite amongst people in the Middle East. Think shredded phyllo dough or semolina dough with melted cheese, cream or nuts, topped with sweet rosewater syrup. The stacked dessert features 8 thin layers of dough with dulce de leche sandwiched between. Topped with whipped Italian meringue, this dessert gets its name from alfajores, Argentinian shortbreads that the dessert resembles. The three colorful layers of xe bao mao are the yellow mung beans, red beans, and the green agar jelly mixed with pandan, which gives the jelly a chewy taste similar to a gummy bear. Topped with crushed ice, condensed milk, and coconut milk, this dessert is not as sweet as you may think, but it is refreshing and perfect for the hot days in Vietnam. Though many of these desserts have unknown, dark, or legend-like histories, each place has really made it its own. Our memories associated with these desserts make each one unique to us. So go and create a new exciting memory by trying any one of these desserts and let us know how it was in the comments below.